Hi guys, Shelly Fitzgerald, SoShelly.com, or on YouTube. You can find me at SoShelly. So we're going to make a really cool monogram. And all of this white space, the toweling or the minky or the fluffy fabric is going to show. And you're going to stitch it in the same color. If this is a white towel, you would have white thread, or a blue towel, blue thread. And mainly you're going to see the three-dimensional fluffy part. And let's get started. So we're going to start by using our monogramming tool. And I'm going to open the lettering toolbox on the left and left click on monogramming one time, and that opens the monogramming docker. When you come to the top, the Designs tab shows you pre-done designs. So there's 21 with borders and ornaments. Ornaments meaning decorative stitches. There's 21 that are just lettering and borders. And then there's 21 that are just different ways to arrange the letters and how they work with each other. So for ours, we're going to just use borders, and you choose any of them and follow along with the lesson. It will not matter which one you choose. I'm choosing style 03B. And we're just going to use some of the different tools that make the monogramming tool cool. Then we do end up breaking it apart and going in and using other tools. While it is a monogram, it's so easy to make the borders exactly line up with what you want in the center. And so I'm going to choose one letter for our example today. So I come to the Letters tab, and I'm just going to put in a capital B. For Bernina, I'm sure. You guys know I'm a Bernina gal. This Bernina software that we're talking about, this is the Embroidery Software Designer Plus version 9. It would send any of these designs out to all brands of machines. So you don't have to be just a Bernina fan to use this software. So the thing that's interesting about the monogram tool is when you have your letters selected, over here we can change the font. So you're not using the regular lettering box, you're using the one inside of monograms, but you do have access to all the same ones. And I'm going to choose something that's a little bit thick, and we're going to outline it ultimately, so it really won't matter which one you choose. So you could outline any of these. All we're ultimately going to use is the outline of the letter. I'm going to choose, let's see, there's the Swiss, there's tabloid, there's just anything. I'm going to go with the rounded block. I seem to be on a kick of enjoying that rounded block. You could use Racer. That one's interesting. Any of these would work. So you choose a font you like. And in fact, it could be a true type font. You don't even have to choose one of the embroidery fonts. So you could come down and choose a true type font and get the same effect. Okay. So maybe I will choose a different font. This is Britannic Bold. Now when you get to the true type fonts, yours are going to be different than mine because those are based on what you have installed on your computer. So I'm going to stop choosing fonts. I've got the true type Britannic Bold, and that's what I'm going to use. On my other one, I used an embroidery rounded block, but it doesn't matter what you use if you like the visual effect of the shape of the letter. So we have our letter. Now let's make it tall. So I'm going to make this 2.5 inches. Because I'm going to put a great big monogram on a bath towel. And so that is a large letter right there. Now what happened, let's see, watch. I'm going to use the up and down arrow so you can watch. The cool thing about using the monogram tool is this border is going to move in tandem with the size of the letter. So as I change the size of that letter, then the border moves with it. And that's really cool. That's one of the reasons this tool is so nice. And we could have selected just an ornament and done that also, but we're choosing the letter. Let me get back up to my 2.5 here. And I am ready to go. Now, you also, in advanced, you can slant it. If it was a whole word, which we could have written a word, we could have done all sorts of things. We're not going to use these properties today, but just remember that you have a lot of tools inside of the monogram toolbox down here under the advanced tab. So we're going next to borders. We're not using an ornament. We're going to go to our border. And the first border and offset is how far away is it from my letter. And down here I did open the advanced tab, and the aspect ratio is what is the shape. So I can make it wider or I can make it taller. See how it's getting narrower? And you can change that aspect ratio. Or I could go back to the default. Let me just put in, well, that probably is the default of 1. And I could turn that 45 degrees, enter, and make it look like that. And then change, let's see, no, that's the aspect. I don't want to change the aspect again. I want to change how far away it might be from the letter. So there's how you might do that. Okay. Our first one I left on its side and I stitched that out, and I thought that looked kind of cool. So just for the heck of it, maybe I'll leave this one standing upright. Same monogram, but we'll get a totally different effect. Okay. Now I'm going to add some more borders. So add, and it's going to put it right outside the first one. Add, right outside the next one. Add. And that's the maximum number of borders I can put into a design, is 1, 2, 3, 4. This first border is going to be a fill, not an outline. And so I'm going to come down, and for the fill type, I'm going to make it I could do a pattern. That would be beautiful. If I do a pattern, I can come down now into the properties right here. I don't come up to these properties while it's in the monogramming tool. I come right here. And with my pattern, I can say select, and I have all these different patterns that I can choose from. If I want to see those in true view, I just hit this little true view. And let's select, let's see here. Let's go with the hearts. Isn't Valentine's coming? So we'll say okay, okay. And now that would be holding my toweling down. That's ultimately what we're doing with this pattern with those heart shapes. Now those take a lot of stitches. I'm up to 25,000 stitches already. 25,000. You look down here. Let's look at a different fill and see what a cross stitch might do. So cross stitch, and that's 50,000. Ooh, that's a lot. But if I go into cross stitch on the properties, I could tell it maybe I only want 6 stitches per inch instead of 14. And that would make it much looser spacing. And that dropped it down to 19,000. So that's less than the other one was. So you just have a lot of choices is what I'm showing you here. Now that cross stitch, I'm on the 4th border at the outside edge. That is not what I want. I meant to be using that first border. So this outside border, I'm going to go back to just the regular satin stitch. Come to the first one and the fill type. And I think I'll go to, let's try one more. Let's try the lace work. And that is 16,891. That looks pretty good, actually. Now, my goal right now is to cover those edges with the next satin border. So I would push 0 again and just get this centered. So I would come over here, and on the second border, see the offset? I can put that closer to this one. Let me make that offset smaller, smaller, smaller. So you saw that move in, and now it covers that edge. See where that edge is clear under that satin stitch. In fact, I may have gone too far. Let's go back one. And then zoom in and look. Yeah, now it's right down the middle. Okay, so that's good. Then I'm going to choose the third one, and when I start moving it, it'll jump back, my view will. And I'm going to move that farther away. So I'm going to have some toweling showing in between these two. And this will be just wide open spaces, and the nap of the towel will show in there. And I'm going to have another border of this type stitching. So on this 4th border, I'm going to move it away. And I'm doing all of this spacing in here. Now, granted, we have an outline tool that we can do some outlines and offsets and do some things like that also. But I just wanted you to see how these things work in the monogram tool. For now, I think that's all I want to do in here. I could change this type, but I'm going to have to duplicate this one border so that I can do some cutting and some changing. So I can't do that inside of the monogram tool. This is as far as I can go. But it's quite beautiful in its own right. And you can do all sorts of stuff, and this would stitch really nice. But let's go ahead and do what else I have planned. So I'm going to select the entire design, come into the Edit toolbox, and I'm going to break it apart. And it's no longer a monogram. So now I have access to all the different layers, and I can do anything I want with those. So since I'm finished with the monogramming tool, I'm going to close that just to give myself space to work. And I'm going to change all the elements to their own color just to give myself some space also, visual space. So I'm going to make that blue, and let's check, let's see. Oh, these have to be ungrouped. Even though I broke it apart, now I have to right click and ungroup them, those elements. So now I'm going to, the first border, and I'm going to make it any other color. In the end, we're going to make them the same color. There's the second border, and let's make that any other color. And this third one, and I'll make it any other color. So now everything has its own color box. Now the things I'm going to do next, you could do in any order. So if I was using that top one with step fill, then this is where I would copy, paste, and change the stitch angle to make this type of a grid fill. So if it was a step fill, and I went into the properties, and I made the stitch spacing 4, and I said apply, and I went to the effects to get into effects, others, travel on edges, apply. Then I would select that, and I don't need this anymore. and I would copy it, paste it, and the second one came in down at the bottom, so I'm going to make it its own color and send it to the start so that they're up here together. And this one I would choose reshape, and see the orange right here that says stitch angle. I would just move that the other way. And now, even if I'm in Creator and I did not have lace work or cross stitch, and sometimes I like to use this anyway, sometimes the stitch count of doing this is less than doing some of those other fancy stitches. So since we walked through that, let's just leave it like that for now. Okay, so there's our background fill. We're going to do another background fill out here, which we could do exactly the same, but I'll probably just use it as a lace work or a cross stitch. So that's one step that we needed to do. I'm going to go in and I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to call it B Monogram 2 because I don't want to get rid of the first one. You call it whatever you want and find a location to save it. But we're going to make so many changes that it's just nice sometimes to save along the way. And then if something happens, we can come back. Now, these two, I could make the same color. Just kind of clean those up and let them live in their own box. And that might be helpful. This one, this is the outline around. It's fine. I like the way it fits. I don't need to make any changes to that one. That will be just fine. Now, these two, this one and this one, I want to create another bit of this type of fill that's going to be just a little band around here. Let me show you that. Right here. And that's just going to hold down some more of the toweling or the minky. And then this part is going to show to the outside again. So I'm going to have this showing and that showing. This is what I want to show you how to create right now. Okay. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold Control and take that. And I'm going to copy. And I'm going to open a new screen, and I'm going to paste. Now, they'll be at the same location, so when I copy and paste them back on the other side in a minute, they should come in right where we wanted them. So I'm going to make both of them a fill. So there's a step fill, and this one is a step fill. And I want the green one on top, so I'm going to move it down. And I'm going into Edit, and I'm going to remove overlaps. And so now I can delete this fill, and look what I have. Ta-da! So this one, I could do the same thing with the step fill, duplicate it, change the angles, or I'm just going to go ahead and make it a lace work just for the quickness because we already saw those other steps. And so now I will copy this, go back to my original, and paste it. And it should paste in the exact location. Yep, it did. Now I do prefer that these two lines, I'll hold the Control and get both of those so on top of that lace, so I'll send those to the end. And so now we have that lace fill. And you can also tell that it looks a little bit different than this. Not bad. This stitch is formed long lines and then long lines. This stitch is formed kind of in a box as it goes. So if you have both of them in there, you could learn, because you guys are always going to do a sample, I know. All right, so the next thing we have to do is our letter, and then we're just about done. So for the letter, I'm going to come in the Edit Toolbox, Outlines and Offsets. So I'm going to click that, and I want to outline my letter. And I'm going to, well, I could use a satin outline, that would be fine, or I could use any outline I wanted. Well, you wouldn't want a pattern run or something, but you could use a triple or a little stem stitch or anything you thought would be pretty. Maybe we'll do a stem stitch. And then this letter, I want to make sure is on top of this yellow, which it is, and I'm going to remove overlaps with it. So I'm going to cut a hole in the middle of that yellow. And now I don't need that letter. See up here the hole is cut? I don't need the blue letter anymore. I can delete that. And there we go. Ta-da! So now all we have to do is look at the stitch order and make everything the same color. So the first thing that we'll stitch will be this layer and then this border around it, and then the letter B. That would be fine. And then the next thing that would stitch would be this lace layer, and then the green border, and then the outside border around that. Let's look at it not by color but by objects. And yes, this lacy border is sewing after the letter B. We could make that a different color just to confirm, so that we could tell that it was going to do the lacy, the outline, then some more lace, and outline, and outline. So there you have it. Let's make everything the same color. I'll make it a pretty blue like the other one, or bright green. I love bright green. Chartreuse. We'll just make everything the same color, and then it stitches beautifully. But when you go to the machine, you'll want all of it, well, not necessarily. Wouldn't that be pretty in bright colors? So you could do it just like this, or you can do it tone on tone. You could do it black on black, or white on white, or maybe charcoal gray on black. You decide. This is a very versatile tool. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, I have a software course, and this is just an example of the kind of things that we do. And so you may want to come over and join us. And if you do, that's awesome. So just go over to sewshelly.com. In fact, there's 2 software courses over there. So Foundations and Foundations 2. You will learn a lot. So I'm going to hope you enjoy this, and bye for now.